tonight. Nearly 15 million Texans are suffering as the storm-battered state faces another night of record cold weather after days without power. The big crisis now, severe water shortages that are impacting nearly half of Texas residents. On top of that, the governor just confirmed 165,000 homes still do not have electricity. At least 50 deaths are confirmed in Texas and 8 other states hit by the brutal winter. And so many Texans are struggling right now simply to get a hold of some drinkable water as this weather nightmare continues tonight.
It is, Wolf, and at the end of what has been a miserable week in this state, we've learned that 26 people have died, most of those victims from hypothermia and exposure to carbon monoxide poisoning. And even though the temperatures are rising, the worst is not over, as millions of people will spend the weekend just trying to find water. A military plane transporting 84,000 bottles of water from California landed in Galveston, Texas. Thousands of people are driving through massive food and water distribution sites in Houston and San Antonio.
I don't think any of us was expecting this and for it to be like this. So it's all about survival right now until it starts getting warm.
No water. It's real bad. And I have a 7-year-old, and it's tough.
Some 16 million Texans are battling water disruptions as more than 1,200 public water systems across the state are fighting to fix disruptions caused by the winter storm and power grid failure. The worst of the Texas freeze is over. State officials say the power grid emergency is now under control.
We want to make sure that whatever happened in ERCOT falling short never happens again.
Governor Greg Abbott is now calling on state lawmakers to pay for power plant weatherization upgrades.
To ensure that all of the machinery that froze up and was unable to generate the power you need, that may require funding. The state of Texas should step up and provide that funding.
There are still tens of thousands of people without power in Texas, but getting those people back online will require utility crews to repair damage inflicted by the historic winter storm, and that could take several more days to repair.
I really want to acknowledge just the immense human suffering that we saw throughout this event. When people lose power, there are heartbreaking consequences.
7 people around the town of Abilene died from weather-related causes. A volunteer found an elderly couple in their home. It was 12 degrees inside.
They had been reluctant to leave their home, and so it was 24 hours later. She went back to take them food and found the husband deceased in bed.
As if battling a massive power outage and frigid temperatures wasn't enough, residents like Melissa Webb in the San Antonio area apartment complex could only watch as fire destroyed their homes.
I haven't been able to go to work all week long, and now everything that we have in there is gone.
As the water pressure was, as you mentioned, that
part of the building collapsed as a reporter interviewed a firefighter. Frozen fire hydrants and failing water supply hampered efforts by firefighters to put out the flames. Cities are battling crisis after crisis. Del Rio Mayor Bruno Lozano says his city's wastewater system was knocked offline for an hour this week, which sent sewage seeping into some low-lying parts of the city.
This is something that it's beyond historical, beyond unprecedented. It's a chain reaction of worst-case scenario of worst-case scenarios.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has renewed calls for an investigation of ERCOT, the agency that runs the state's power grid system, and has also called for its executives to resign. Bill Magnus, the CEO of ERCOT, answered those questions on CNN.
How can you keep your job after a week like this?
We're accountable to the people and the leadership of Texas. We're going to go and explain the steps we took and how that played into the entire situation on the electric grid. If that's the outcome, that's the outcome.
And Wolf, you know, talking about weatherizing power plants across the state has become an en vogue and popular position this week. But many critics of state officials here this week have been saying that state lawmakers and statewide officials have had many opportunities over the years to do just those things, and they're wondering why it took a catastrophe like this week to make it popular once again.
Yeah, it's awful, awful. Ed Lavandero, thank you very much. Let's go to the CNN Severe Weather Center right now. Our meteorologist Jennifer Gray is joining us. Jennifer, how much longer will this winter misery last for Texas and indeed for other parts of the country?
You're right. Well, we are starting to warm up. We do have one more night where temperatures are going to be in the deep freeze. And just like Ed said, that domino effect of what happened because of the weather is far from over, but we will be warming up in the coming days. You can see temperatures right now, 51 in Houston. We're still in the 30s in Dallas, the 30s in Shreveport. We do have a hard freeze warning in place for tonight. So one more night of very cold temperatures. We could actually break more than 30 cold temperature records tonight. But after that, things will get much, much better. Look at the high temperatures tomorrow. Almost 60 degrees in Houston, 46 in Dallas, 54 in Austin. Looking better, almost 60 degrees in San Antonio. This is what's left of the system. We still have snow for some of the big cities in the Northeast. New York City, Boston, Philadelphia starting to wind down as this system says goodbye to the U.S. And look at this. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, nothing on the radar. That is a beautiful sight this evening, finally getting rid of all of that snow. Here is Dallas. Look at that. Almost 70 degrees by the time we get to Thursday, 65 on Wednesday. So temperatures are looking much, much better across the board. Houston hitting 71 on Sunday. Wolf.
All right, Jennifer Gray, thank you very, very much. Let's get some more on all of this. Joining us now, the Harris County Judge, Lena Hidalgo. Judge Hidalgo, thank you so much for joining us. I know, as we just heard, some progress has been made restoring power, but clearly you're by no means out of the woods, at least not yet. What are your top concerns right now?
Right now, Wolf, it's the cascading effects from that extended power outages. First, water. About 3.3 million residents in Harris County have some sort of water issues. So that's the Houston area. Either they have water, but they can't drink it because they're under a boil water notice caused by low pressure, or their pipes have burst and they don't have any water. The supply chains are catching up for grocery stores, but we're still waiting for that to happen. And more broadly, folks are just exhausted. You know, folks are shell-shocked from what happened. They've been battered. They're barely beginning to recover. And we're just beginning to learn the extent of the toll. The latest information I have is 10 hypothermia deaths in Harris County alone. We've got around 600 cases of carbon monoxide poisoning, other deaths as well, obviously, from carbon monoxide poisoning. Very frustrated and just exhausted residents. And they've been resilient. They've been as tough as it gets, but it's a lot.
Harris County is the largest county in Texas, I think the third largest county in the country population-wise. How long will it take, Judge Hidalgo, to restore water and deal with all the damage from the pipes bursting?
That's a challenging thing with the water, right? Is we need to finish repairing those pipes. It may be still a few days, and even when they get repaired, you have to wait 24 hours because a sample of the water needs to be taken. When that pressure is down, bacteria seeps into the water, and so we have to wait, test it, and then you can lift the boil water notices. So it's still going to be a few days. We're working with all our cities and our municipal utility districts to get that done, but it can't come to folks quickly enough. And a lot of folks, you know, you can think, okay, well, maybe they could just go out and buy some water. But as you heard, some folks are just, you know, they can't afford a lot of this right now. Food, water, basic necessities. They've missed a week's work. They already were in a tough position because of COVID. And now their roof has fallen in. Their pipes have burst. They're feeling these impacts. It's very much like a winter version of Harvey. It's not something you flip a switch on. Recovery is going to take a while.
I know you've asked the White House for additional assistance. What do you need, and have you gotten a specific response?
I'm extremely grateful to the Biden administration. The state of Texas as well led the advocacy on this. And of course, we were in touch with the Biden administration on the major disaster declaration that has been announced by or reported on now that the president will be issuing. So that we hope is going to provide some relief. We don't have the details, but the extent of the damage surely is into at least the tens of millions of dollars just for pumps alone is our estimates. And then you have to think about all these people's homes who don't have insurance. We need support on food. If folks want to contribute, the Houston Food Bank is a great place to support. And just generally, you know, these folks deserve answers. They deserve answers. After we appreciate how strong they've been, we need to ask what went wrong, why was the Texas grid not prepared, and what public policy decisions led to this? Because this in many ways was a man-made disaster, and the extent of the tragedy is not something we can simply overlook. We have got to have answers and have changes.
I spoke with the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. He told me he hasn't spoken with the Governor Abbott yet. Governor hasn't called him. Have you spoken with the governor?
I've spoken with the governor. Our teams have been in touch. When disaster strikes like this, we have to work very closely to get resources here. The challenge, of course, is, you know, the roads were impassable for a large part of this. And so in many ways, we've been on our own. There are still requests we've made that we're waiting on, and we understand other jurisdictions are pulling them in other directions too. I mean, this has impacted all of Texas because the grid was not prepared. And I do think the state needs to answer questions about, you know, what kind of oversight or lack thereof there was. But yes, we've been in touch, and especially in touch around the federal disaster declaration that we know we needed for the state.
You got that from the federal government, from the president and the White House. All right, Judge Lina Hidalgo, good luck to you. Good luck to everyone in Harris County right now. We'll stay in touch. Thank you very much for joining us.